Hello students, in the previous videos we talked about poetry. Poetry is a creative form of writing that evokes emotions using poetic devices, and we discussed so many poetic devices like simile, metaphor, alliteration, rhyme scheme and enjambment. Now that we have learnt poetry, its uses and the poetic devices, today we are going to talk about analyzing a poem. So once you come across any poem, how do you understand that poem? How do you get into the deeper meaning of the poem? That is the analysis of the poem, and today we are going to delve into this topic. So let's get started. So what do you mean by analyzing a poem? To analyze a poem is to understand its deeper meaning through the different features, symbols, references and words. There is no fixed way of where to begin or how to go about analyzing a poem, but still we have some generic formula to analyze a poem, and we are going to discuss that today. However, since we have focused on certain elements and structures in a poem, we will use them in our analysis. So let's get started. When we are going to analyze the poem, we have to think these 6 questions, and these are: the first one is, what is the subject of the poem? Then, what type of poem is it? What structures have been used in the poem? How do I summarize this poem? What poetic devices have been used in this particular poem? And what is my opinion about this poem? So we have to keep in mind these 6 questions when we analyze any poem that we come across. And today we are going to take up this very interesting poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac Shakur. First of all, I'm going to recite this poem for you. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's law is wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else ever cared. So students, before starting the analysis, let's talk about the poet and the poem first. If we look at the poet, the poem The Rose That Grew from Concrete is written by Tupac Shakur, an American rapper, songwriter, actor and poet. And his poetry addresses social issues, advocates for change and provides a voice for the marginalized. So this is the background of this poet and the poetry that he writes. And when we talk about this particular poem, it actually illustrates a peculiar event in which a rose plant sprouts out of a concrete. So focus on the word concrete here, students. And it is a symbolic poem in which the poet describes the journey of a rose from the darkness in the concrete to fresh air and sunlight. And this poem is short, consisting of the single stanza that has 8 lines. And the poet uses a number of literary devices in the poem. So now that we have understood the poet and this particular poem, now we will go about the analysis. And when we have to analyze the poem, we will categorize our analysis into 3 parameters. And these broad categories are introduction, body and the conclusion. And in the introduction, we are going to comment on the subject and the structure of the poem. When we come to the body, we have to explain what the poem is about in a few sentences and then highlight the poetic devices used in the poem. Finally comes the conclusion, highlight the type of poem and summarize your thoughts and opinions about the poem. So these are the 3 things that we have to keep in mind while analyzing the poem. And now we are going to start with this particular poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. As you can see, students, this is a very short poem that has only 1 stanza and a total of 8 lines. And if we talk about the subject, it is basically about the willpower and determination, and obviously the perseverance to sail through the challenges of life. And if we look at the rhyme scheme, it's not very common, it's quite uncommon. I'm going to annotate it for you. If we look at the word grew, we can write A for this. For concrete, B. Then it is C. Feet again is B. Dreams is D. Air is E. And concrete is B. And finally the last word, cared, it is F. So the rhyme scheme is A, B, C, B, D, E, B, F. One thing very important to mention here, students, if we look at the entire stanza, there is some repetition also being used. And let me annotate this for you. It is grew from a crack in the concrete in the second line, and the same phrase has been repeated in the second last line, rose that grew from concrete. So this is repetition that actually makes up for some kind of rhyme that is missing in this stanza. So this is your introduction. Now moving ahead, students, now we come to the body. Now in the body, we have to describe what the poem is all about, and this poem is about the odd occurrence of a rose that is growing out of a crack in the concrete. And the rose has proven nature's law is wrong. Nature's law means the way rose should have existed. It needs soil, air, moisture and sunlight for existence. But here, the rose grows from concrete. And finally, it's a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to persevere and thrive against all odds. Now, when we have described the poem in a few sentences, now the main purpose is to highlight the poetic devices that have been used in this particular poem. And if we talk about the poetic devices, here we have personification. How personification has been used, students? The rose has been personified to have the human-like quality of aspiration to beat the odds and keep growing even without soil. And the expressions that have been used in this particular poem are these: learn to walk without having feet, funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams. And finally, it learned to breathe fresh air. So these are examples of personification. And the second important poetic device that has been used here is symbolism. Rose can be seen as a symbol of resilience and beauty. The poem highlights overcoming adversity and thriving in tough conditions, like a rose growing from concrete. The rose symbolizes resilience and strength of individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds facing significant challenges. And the poet conveys the same message that persistence and hard work can lead to success even after a long struggle. So this is about the body. And finally, we come to the conclusion. In the conclusion, students, we have to write what type of a poem is it. And we have discussed various types of poem: haiku, free verse, limerick and ode. Yes, students, this poem is written in the form of an ode. Ode means a poem that glorifies any living thing or non-living thing, and here it glorifies the rose that defies all odds to emerge triumphant. And rose again doesn't mean only a flower. Rose is that individual who stays strong despite all the adversities and is always successful in his life. And finally, your opinion about the poem, what you actually learn from the poem. Students, yes, my opinion is that if you stay strong, you have a strong will, you are determined, you are going to emerge victorious and sail through all the difficulties, all the adversities in your life. Never say die. This attitude is to be followed if you want to survive in this harsh world. So this is about the analysis of this particular poem. And when you come across any poem, try to analyze the poem keeping these questions in mind that we have discussed and the 3 parameters. Yes, one thing I would like to mention here, students, there is no single way of analyzing. One poem can be analyzed in a different way. Actually, it depends on our individual perceptions and individual differences as well. So now, coming to the last part and the most interesting part of the video, the task time, you have to read this particular poem and analyze the poem based on these given questions. I'm sure, students, when you come across any poem in your life, anywhere, you would be able to understand the deeper meaning and the metaphorical meaning of the poem now. Thank you, happy reading and happy enjoying poetry. Thank you. Have a great day.